Osborne, 8 catches, 76 yards. Sanders goes deep once again. This time it's caught. 1st and 10 of the 26. Sanders sprinting, sets, delivers. Touchdown, Colorado!
All right, YouTube, welcome. This is Sports Professor. Now, for those who don't know me, I'm actually Jay the Professor, but this is my second YouTube channel, which is the Sports Professor channel. We're going to be talking about a lot of different topics ranging from all types of sports, from basketball, football, baseball, all types of things. And we're going to talk about some news coverage, some analytics, but mostly, again, I come from a football background. So we're going to mainly talk about football, basketball, current events within the sports world, because again, I watch sports often. I'm a former professional athlete and collegiate athlete, so these videos are real. I'm gonna give you my objective perspective on particular athletes. This is no emotion. This is straight facts. Again, my goal is to protect the athletes and also hold athletes accountable, and also just talk about certain games and different things. We're also going to have different podcasts and different talk shows when it comes to sports. So I want y'all to continue on with the video. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and talk about Shedeur Sanders. Now, before we even continue with this video, gentlemen, I'm a big Shedeur Sanders fan. As a matter of fact, I'm a big Deion Sanders fan. And what pisses me off is people are constantly making false rumors, false allegations about Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders and the whole Sanders family. Now, I've watched them very closely from when they played at Jackson State, when they're in their early years in Colorado, and this past season in the draft. And I watched Well Off Media, the pregame show, Reach the People Media, Chico, Scoop Duke, I think, just all these different channels that are in relation to Colorado. And I watch the channels very closely. But I often see a pattern from the outside world where people are truly hating on the Sanders family. Now, from what I see, they've been very consistent as far as how they operate, how they go about their business. And what truly pisses me off are people making false allegations about Shedeur. Shedeur did this, Shedeur did that. And I want y'all to really pay attention. I'm going to show you a video of what people were saying about Shedeur early on in the draft process and what people started saying later on in the draft process. I want you to pay attention to the difference and why this even happened. I'm trying to figure that out. Why this happened? After you watch these two videos, I'm going to fully explain my perspective of why I believe these things are happening. Go ahead and enjoy.
Diving into Shedeur Sanders tape, what stands out to you when you turn on Shedeur Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes?
Shedeur's a very clean passer, very accurate passer. Pat Shermer is his offensive coordinator.
Yep.
A lot of shallow crosses, a lot of the NFL type plays. The intermediate stuff, when everything is there, the check Ys, the shallow crosses, the out routes, the RPOs, this guy excels at. He's got great accuracy.
I mean, basically 75% completion percentage.
I would have rather have been 68% and not taking so many sacks, Shedeur. I mean, we're not taking 20-yard sacks.
So many sacks.
But let's talk about what he can do. He can throw the football between 10 and 35, 40 yards very accurately. So the quick game, the RPO game, the play action game, the bootleg game, outside the pocket. He's not an overly great athlete like his father was, but he has skill where he can get outside the pocket and hurt you. He's got enough arm, plenty of arm, but it's not like overwhelmingly, holy cow, he can rip it. That's not his style. He's more of an anticipation, accurate type guy. Sometimes I think he thinks his arm is better than it is, and he throws it downfield and it's underthrown. It's going to be intercepted a lot in the NFL. That'll get him into trouble. But he's got a lot of talent. You know, people are saying that he's too cocky. The interviews say he came out too cocky. I heard his coach said he was too cocky too. Didn't you hear that?
Yeah. Shermer?
No.
His dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if anybody's going to be cocky, it's Deion Sanders' kid. That's right. And that's nothing wrong with that. He's got great confidence. You want your quarterback to be confident.
For sure.
You want him to have that aura of, I can do anything.
More different perspective on at that position than I've heard about Shedeur Sanders. Dan, go.
He's the hardest quarterback I've had to evaluate since I've gotten into TV. because 75% of his snaps don't matter, Greeny. And that's the reality for everybody that's evaluating Shedeur Sanders. Half of the snaps that he had at Colorado are thrown inside of 5 yards. It feels like when you watch his tape, every ball is thrown at the line of scrimmage. You're not drafting him in the top 5 for that, right? So throw that out. That's half the snaps. And then 25% of the snaps, the offensive line protection is so terrible that I don't care if you have Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes.
Now, I want y'all to pay attention. Remember early on, during the draft process with the Senior Bowl and all these different the early parts, and then even during the season, Shedeur Sanders was predicted to be a first-round draft pick. Think about it. Shedeur Sanders was predicted to be a first-round draft pick, and not only just a first-round draft pick. Shedeur was projected to be top 2 in the draft, top 2 pick in the draft, right? But throughout the draft process, according to certain interviews, or Shedeur started interviewing bad, his draft started crashing. It started dropping. So he went from being top 2 to top 5 to top 10 to top 20. And then when the actual draft happened, he wasn't drafted until the 5th round. And you had all these quarterbacks that weren't as good and as skillful as Shedeur Sanders come before him. What does that say? In my personal opinion, based off my knowledge of the Sanders family and my knowledge of how the media operates, this is all collusion. Not only this was collusion, but this was because they wanted to get back at Deion. They wanted to get back at Deion Sanders because they felt a certain type of way about his confidence. So they're like, okay, if we can't get Deion, we might as well take it all on his son. And it's unfortunate because Shedeur is such a hard worker. If you watch Shedeur's interviews.
Great to be joined by Shedeur Sanders about an hour after you wrapped up your throwing session. How'd you feel like it went out there today?
I feel like it went pretty good. I feel like we missed a couple. You know, we wish we'd have got back, but for the most part, I think it was the best one yet.
Shedeur, during this whole pre-draft run-up, what has been the thing that you have really wanted to accomplish? Look, you're not playing any games. Your tape is already out there.
Yeah.
So what you do here today kind of, for me, is kind of inconsequential, right? It don't really mean that much.
Yeah.
I know how you can play. What have you wanted to accomplish over the past couple of weeks, past couple of months as we head on into the draft?
I would say definitely is getting closer with God, you know. That's what I'll say is the most thing, because you gotta understand people come at you every different ways. You know, the devil try to attack what's going on different ways. I know I'm one of God's favorites, so I know just getting that relationship, staying close to him throughout all this, it just helped me get through everything.
Specific to the decision to throw today, you know, as Lewis said, a lot of tape on you out there already, and some quarterbacks opt not to throw during the pre-draft process. What kind of pushed you in the direction to make sure that you threw today here at your showcase?
Well, I would say it would be kind of selfish of me to not be out there with my receivers. That was the main plan. Will didn't get invited to the combine, and I know he was better than a lot of guys out there. So it was kind of like, and my brother also, he didn't get drafted, and a couple of my other teammates. So it was kind of just one of those things to where I want everybody to come here. I want all the teams to be able to be here, for them to get the shine and for them to get an opportunity in front of everybody.
You know, I talked to your dad a lot about the kind of things that would help you be successful at the next level, right? So when you're going through this process, as much as they're interviewing you, you can interview them about what are they going to structure around you.
I definitely know that.
Exactly.
I definitely know that.
So tell
That's
us.
why they love me, they hate me. You know, one day they love me, one day they hate me. It is what
So I'll
it
tell
is.
you what, make them love you here. Tell them what does Shedeur Sanders need? What do you hope to get out of the NFL to help you reach your maximum potential as fast as possible?
All I need is opportunity. Simple. Whatever franchise want to change their franchise, and there's no doubt who to go with. I've done it over and over and over, so you'll be a fool not to pick me.
He articulates himself very well. If you watch how he practices with Daryl Colbert, who is a former SMU quarterback, and then he's been training Shedeur since the beginning. He also trains Cam Ward, and I'm not taking nothing away from Cam Ward. Cam Ward is an elite quarterback. Cam Ward was the top 2 quarterback in his draft. And yeah, most can argue that Cam Ward was better than Shedeur, right? But you got to look at Cam Ward from where he came from. When he played at the University of Miami, he had a really good offensive line. Shedeur had a terrible offensive line with the exception of Jordan Seaton and maybe one other person. But Shedeur was getting hit, body slammed. Shedeur was sacked 94 times in 2 years, and he was still able to throw the ball with absolute accuracy, great timing, great anticipation. great footwork. I mean, how could you not draft somebody who's more prepared than any other quarterback in this draft? Shedeur is the most prep quarterback in this draft class. I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, Shedeur like I said, he throws on rhythm. He throws with great anticipation. He's completely accurate. He's extremely tough. He knows what it takes to win. He's extremely consistent. He's very mature. He's very calm. Now, a lot of people have this misconception because of how he presents himself in the media with the jewelry and all that. But if you actually sit down and talk to Shedeur, he's very well mannered and actually articulates himself very well. And that's something that a lot of people don't even pay attention. They just talk about what everybody else is saying. And all these people, all these sports commentators are full of shit because how they describe Shedeur in the beginning and how they started switching up towards the end, I don't like that. And that's why I don't trust certain sportscasters because they're inconsistent, especially Chris Carter. Chris Carter bragged about Shedeur, talking about he was very professional, he did his business, blah, 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 blah. And then post-draft, he started talking about Shedeur in a negative way. We're also going to play that first part when Chris Carter talked about how Shedeur did well, and then we're going to play the second part where he tried to blame Shedeur Sanders for some of the things he did.
I'm going to say about Shedeur, too, and this is what a lot of young people don't realize. When I was at the national championship, Notre Dame versus Ohio State, I was working for a company, AT&T, that he already has a deal with. Oh. And he didn't know that I was going to be getting in the car with his driver right after they had been driving him and his brother around for 2 days. So the things that the driver said, as far as the way he conducts his business, the way he takes care of himself, the way he bosses his brother around to make sure that he's not late because he could do some things that aren't as timely as Shedeur. So a true CEO, this is something I told Deion. I told Deion Jr., the guy behind the media, that you don't know who's watching. And to hear this driver brag about Shedeur and how professional he is. He just said his timing, coming down every time he called him, he was 5 minutes early. The way he was preparing his dress, his wardrobe inside the car, the things he talked about with his brother, the seriousness with which he conducted himself, like all these things, like he was just bragging about Shedeur. And
the number one thing that didn't happen was there was not a collusion message with the NFL owners.
Okay, what? Okay, a lot of people think that.
Because they wouldn't be able to keep a secret like that. And
so they might do it, but they couldn't shut up about it.
They wouldn't be able to shut up about it. But every owner is very, very selfish. Now, why would I do something to my detriment? Like if I need a quarterback and I think this kid is it, what he didn't realize is the guys that have fallen in the draft before, they all had unusual traits. Like they had some superstar qualities to them. Now, some other things happened that made them fall, but Shedeur and his family, they overplayed their hand. Them thinking that he was in the same evaluation mode as Eli Manning, they didn't play that right. Them trying to narrow the teams that he was going to go to, that didn't do right. Not working out at the combine, that wasn't the right thing. His interview process, obviously he could have done a lot better in that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people left that meeting, felt he was very, very entitled.
Which meet? Like, because they said Brian DeBall, the Giants coach, had said he didn't like the meeting. He asked him, he had some book, was his playbook or something he was supposed to know, and he said he felt weird about it. I don't know who else said they didn't like the meeting with him. Or were just people behind the scenes saying they did?
Well, the thing about it, they didn't draft him.
I know that.
So it's not the tape. And he likes guys to be a little more open before he lets it go. And he doesn't have a big-time arm. He's not a big guy. He's not overly athletic. Mm-hmm. So his measurables are not, say, first-round measurables. But he played football like a first-rounder.
But his tape's first-round tape. But his measurables are not first-round measurables.
Well, you don't play football all the time. You're a human being the rest of the time. And how you're going to be in the locker room, how he already came up with this line of merchandise, legendary, like he's already calling himself legendary. All those things are problems. Right now, he's working check to check, man. Like he's not going to get a big signing bonus. There's not going to be a big guarantee. Any day they want to get rid of him in the week, they can get rid of him.
He does. Don't we think Shedeur is smart enough to know he's not at Jackson State and he's not at Colorado?
No.
You don't think so?
I listened to too many of his answers. I saw too many of the outtakes. I saw too many times he was working out with other players, and he said things that I thought were highly questionable for my franchise quarterback.
So like what?
When he was working out with Cam Ward, him and Cam Ward, the number one pick.
Yeah.
Hey, man, you want to cut a rap video together? No, I want to be known as a football player.
And he's like, what do you do for fun? He's like, I play football.
Why wouldn't you sit down with people? And something these kids never understand, even if you're a top 10 pick.
Now you guys see the difference in that. So this is why in this video I'm so passionate about the Shedeur Sanders situation, because seeing somebody who doesn't do anything to anybody get hated on left, right, and all because they want to get back at his father, Deion Sanders. This is unfortunate, man. And Shedeur, I don't know if you're ever going to watch this video, but keep grinding, keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right path, and I'm rooting for you. As a matter of fact, Shedeur, I'm actually a Commanders fan, but because you play for the Cleveland Browns, I'm officially a Cleveland Browns fan. Well, that's my second team. So again, I appreciate you all tuning in to my first episode of the Sports Professor Show. I want you to tune in for the next episode. Stay tuned. Peace.